Shush! It's time for The Shelf. Whangarei District Libraries Radio on Beagle Radio. Oh!
Haere mai ki The Shelf. Welcome to The Shelf, a podcast for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 and also online at beagleradio.co.nz. Welcome.
Welcome. My name is LJ. I am a cataloguing services librarian at Whangarei District Libraries and also co-host of The Shelf.
Yes, and my name is Andy. I'm an outreach services librarian.
Wonderful. We've got a lot coming up today. We're going to talk about reading for pleasure. We're going to talk about some exciting events coming up, like the Sandbox Fandom Fest. But we're going to kick off with some listener feedback, which is very exciting. Is this our first piece of listener feedback, maybe?
I think it is, yes.
Yeah. Exciting to know that someone is listening that is not my mum.
Or my mom.
Yeah.
My dad, yeah. My sister.
I won't name her because I haven't got permission to name her, but I'm sure she'll know who she is. We got some feedback about, so we've talked about how audiobooks are real reading a lot on The Shelf. So we just wanted to issue a clarification around that. So when we say that it's real reading, we don't mean real reading in that the way our brain processes it is identical, like print versus audio, but rather that if Andy listens to the Seven Sisters series by Lucinda Riley, and I read the print copy of The Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley, we've both read Seven Sisters, although our brains have processed it differently. And we're also highlighting audiobooks as an accessibility tool and as a way to get some reading in while doing other tasks like knitting, etc. So our listener recommends a book called Reader Come Home, The Reading Brain in a Digital World by Marianne Wolfe, and that talks a little bit about what is the process that's happening in your brain when you are reading a physical book, and you can check that out at Whangarei District Libraries. But if anybody else has any feedback or anything really that you want to say at all, we love to hear from listeners, so you can do that on our YouTube, our Instagram, our Facebook, or you can send an email to the Whangarei District Libraries email address on our website.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Just briefly, I want to, in case you are tuning in for the first time, I'll just explain what we are doing here. In this podcast, In the Shelf, we discuss matters related to our library, community, and culture in general. We are based in Whangarei, New Zealand, but we are also advocates for libraries everywhere. So if you are a user or a librarian, we're advocating for all of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk. What are we reading right now?
Yes.
Shall I?
Yeah,
okay.
go.
Right now, I admit I have had little spare time, but I am reading The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro, the British author.
Wow.
And the Buried Giant so far seems to be a bit of an adventure tale, but of course there's many buried secrets.
Insert sound effect here.
No. Well, what it is it's talking about the book takes place in England after the Romans have left, and the Saxons have settled there, but it's not all-out war yet. And really, the book, it can be taken as a work of historic fiction. A lot of the references in the book are fantasy references, such as ogres, giants, and I think that those do not indicate a fantasy novel, but that people actually believed in those things at the time. Yeah. So they're all referred to in the third person. And I'm enjoying it, and it's written in a very different style, almost, I call it Homeric. it's an epic tale, but not a very long book. So I maybe should have been done with it by now.
No judgment, Andy.
But a wonderful combination of history and mythology, and I'm enjoying it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm reading a couple of things as always, but I tried to pick something that, because we're going to be talking fantasy, etc. today, I tried to pick something on theme. So I'm listening to Hogfather by Terry Pratchett at the moment, the Nigel Planer ones that he narrates. So there's quite a few different editions of Terry Pratchett's books in audio now. I've read quite a few, but I do find them quite enjoyable to listen to, especially in Nigel Planer's voice. So yeah, that's one of the novels from the Discworld series that I'm reading at the moment.
I like how a lot of Terry Pratchett titles are just references to movies. The Hogfather, what's the Fifth Element one? The Fifth Elephant.
Yes, the Fifth Element.
Are there others?
I think there probably is.
There are probably a lot of them.
Off the top of my head, it's difficult. Yeah. But yeah, I am really enjoying it.
We talk a lot on this show about reading for pleasure, after all. That's what we just talked about.
Yeah.
But I want to relay some notes that I took at a conference that LJ and I attended last year. Carly, who is also a Shelfie, she was also there, and another colleague of ours, the teen librarian. Well, I went to this lecture about reading for pleasure, basically saying, why do we do it, and why is it so valuable? And one of the notes that I saw that I really liked was it was the metaphor often used for the benefits of reading for pleasure. The metaphor is the windows and mirrors. So when you read a book, you find the relatable material in it that makes you think, in a way, you can see yourself. That is the mirror, the relatable things. And then there is also the window, the vision into other people's experiences. So, yes, like that line in To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch said, you must walk a mile in somebody's shoes. You see into their reality. So I like that metaphor a lot, windows and mirrors. And I wrote this quote down. Oh, actually, that's not a quote. That's me. This is
I'm sure
these are my words.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sure it's something I've heard you say.
Yeah, these reading for pleasure can be like looking through a window into someone else's experiences and like looking into a mirror at our own experience. So that's my take on why we do it. And this is a quote from the conference that the lecturer stated, literature helps us develop empathy and hear other viewpoints.
That was a great panel, actually.
Oh, it was my favorite, and I keep revisiting it in my notes because it was so important. But I wanted to know what other staff members think, and I went around and I recorded, very briefly, their thoughts on the matter. So, check it out. What do you like to read?
I really enjoy reading historical fiction because I like to learn stuff, and I really like going on adventures or lots of action happening in a story. And these days, women in historical fictions are less passive, so they're more part of the action as well. So I really enjoy that too.
Okay. And what are you reading right now?
I'm reading a book called Killing Thatcher by Rory Carroll, and that was recommended to me on a podcast. Someone had been on holiday and completely ignored his 2 children and wife and just spent the whole time reading that book, so I thought that sounded interesting.
And what is something positive that you can gain from reading?
I think it's just a way of escaping and engaging your mind in a way that doesn't involve a screen. I quite enjoy making my brain work in a different way.
Kia ora. What do you like reading?
I'm a bit of a Jekyll and a Hyde when it comes to reading. I love ancient history, biographies, geology, natural history, and on the flip side, I'm really into science fiction and science fantasy. You know, the classics, John Wyndham, Greg Bear, Terry Pratchett, those kind of books.
And what are you reading right now?
Well, right now I'm reading a 2023 book called Weird Medieval Guys, How to Live, Laugh, Love and Die in Dark Times by Olivia Swarthout.
Okay. And what is something positive that you gain out of reading?
I think from reading I get a real appreciation of the depth of knowledge that people have that I can tap into, and also the creativity with the science fiction. You know, sometimes they're the first people to come up with the right solution for world problems that we currently have. And how you benefit from reading? I think for me, my curiosity is huge, and it answers the questions I have about the world I live in, raises 1,000 more. And why should people read? I think it expands who you are, and you've got new knowledge and new ways of thinking from what you're reading.
What do you like to read?
Personally, I'm more of a non-fiction reader. Specifically, I like to expand my knowledge in the topics of psychology, economics, but also political philosophy that I studied a very long time ago. So those are the books I'm very interested about, and yeah, I love reading and expanding my knowledge that way.
Okay. And what are you reading right now?
Ooh, what am I reading right now? I think I've got a book at home by Thomas Piketty or Joseph Stiglitz. Those are political philosophers, and they talk about political theory and how to run a society and these sorts of topics. Very complex, but interesting.
Okay, thank you very much. Kia ora. What do you like to read?
I like to read non-fiction.
And what are you reading right now?
I'm about to start The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate.
And how do you benefit from reading?
Oh, there's many benefits, but for me it's answers curiosity, shows me things I would not have come to otherwise, and while an early science fiction reader, strangely after university I got into non-fiction more, just not what they prescribed.
Kia ora. What do you like to read?
Well, I like to read mainly fantasy and some sci-fi. At the moment, I'm reading The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. It's the first in a trilogy, and it's really, really cool. It's an empire set on floating islands, and it's got a really unique and interesting magic system. And I find that I like reading the fantasy genre because who wouldn't want to live briefly in a world full of magic and dragons?
And there you have it. There are many.
That was great, Andy.
I want to thank my colleagues for helping with that. People think we read all day. We don't, but we do have our own tastes in literature, and a lot of shout-outs for the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
What do you think, LJ?
Yeah, I'm a big, I'm a fantasy and a non-fiction reader. So yeah, I saw myself reflected in a lot of our colleagues' answers there. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah, definitely.
Got some recommendations now.
Yeah. Oh, I should relay. One of our colleagues just wanted me to tell everyone. And my colleagues said that they really just read whatever takes their fancy. And I'm kind of with them on that.
Yeah.
I see something that's interesting and I read it, and there's quite a variety.
Yeah, I try not to limit myself too much because, you never know if you go, I'm never going anywhere near insert genre here.
Yeah.
You might miss out on something that could end up being your favorite book.
Indeed, and really, I got to agree with one of my colleagues about historic fiction. I listened to a Great Courses lecture where the lecturer said, do not underestimate historic fiction for its ability to immerse us into another world.
Which is interesting to me because I'm someone that's always sort of not really got into historic fiction because I tend to read non-fiction about the topic, and I've thought, why would I read a historical fiction when I can read the non-fiction? But that's given me a new perspective.
Definitely. But I would like to go over to another form of pop culture that we've been talking about a lot in the library. The Sandbox Festival is coming up.
Yeah.
And the library has introduced me to a lot of, things that when I was an English major at university, they didn't let us read. There's a little snobbery, unfortunately.
I can imagine.
Amongst some of my uni colleagues. But really, the Sandbox Festival, what would we call it? A celebration of nerddom.
Yeah, it really is. It combines lots of different aspects of, from the dressing up aspect to the book aspect to the game playing, etc. We're going to hear from Verena later in our chat.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's going to be just after we play a song that's in a genre that I am not familiar with.
Oh.
I mentioned historic fiction. We talked about fantasy, nonfiction. We did not talk about Westerns.
No.
So I have
to say that it's a genre that I don't really read. After I've just said, don't discount any genre.
Yes.
I don't know that I've picked up a Western.
And I've read one Western novel. Mm-hmm. It was the biography of Wyatt Earp. I read it when I was a kid. It's called a biography, but it's written like historic fiction.
Right.
There's no way anyone could relay all of that dialogue.
Like a narrative nonfiction.
And perhaps written for kids.
Yeah.
But this song is a Western song by the rock band The Grateful Dead. It's called Me and My Uncle.
Okay. Kia ora koutou, welcome back to The Shelf, a podcast for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 and online at www.beagleradio.co.nz. That was Me and My Uncle by Grateful Dead. Thanks for the song, Andy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Western themed, but I wouldn't call it a country tune at all. But grim lyrics, but such a jolly tune.
Yeah.
Murder and mayhem.
Amazing. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Verena, who we've had on the podcast before in a different capacity. Carly interviewed her a few episodes ago for the Volunteering Northland, for the volunteering expo that we had at the library. But Verena wears many hats, and one of them is nerdy. So she is also part of organising the Sandbox Fandom Festival, which is happening on Saturday, 27th of July. And I will be there with the library bus, as well as my colleague Milani, the teen librarian, and hopefully somebody driving the bus, but I'm not sure. There will be a third person. Yeah. And we're going to do, I mentioned it a little bit in the interview, but we will be doing some badge making, we'll be doing some wand making, and we will also be filling the bus with all things fantasy, sci-fi, comics, and manga. We're going to listen to a pre-recorded interview I did with Verena last week. Kia ora, welcome back to The Shelf, a radio show for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM. I am here with Verena again in a different capacity this time. You might have heard her talking to Carly about the Volunteer Expo, and now today we're going to talk about the Sandbox Fandom Festival that's coming up. So, hi Verena.
Hi LJ, thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, no worries. So, tell us about the Sandbox Fandom Festival. Like, when is it? When did it start? What can we expect this year? And what is your involvement with the festival?
Right. So the Sandbox Fandom Festival this year will be on the 27th of July, a Saturday, from 10 to 4 p.m. At Forum North, just right next to this beautiful building here.
Yes.
And this will be the second year that we've got the festival. The first one was last year, but it does actually build on a lot of history, which is partly because COVID happened and we had to push it back, I think, 3 times.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was planned in 2020 or something. And I was also involved in some of the planning for Plunge, which is another comic convention, a small one here. And I organized some of the game stuff for the Itchy Trigger Finger convention. That was an esports convention that was also here.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, Tony ran that one and Aru runs Plunge. But for several reasons, those ones aren't happening anymore. And also we wanted to do our own, a different format. I've organized conventions in Germany plenty of times before, and I just wanted something that kind of has also focus on like board games and card games and miniatures, and that's kind of my nerdy involvement. And then I met Anna, and Anna Terwheel wanted to do something like that as well, because she's been involved in conventions in Wellington, where she lived for quite a while. And so this is how it all started, the Sandbox at least. In the beginning, we also had Keely Ann as part of it. She's now judging our cosplay panels. We've got Clark involved from the council, former Northland Youth theater manager. We've got Matt Kelly, who's a comic book artist. And yes, what people can expect is a day of fandom fun. It will be full of cosplay.
Yeah, I went last year and it was so much fun.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. We hope it will be even more fun this year, because we're taking over the whole of Forum North.
Much bigger.
With cosplay, anime, comics, gaming, tech. We have art, we have panels, we have a whole lot of performances, and we have 2 famous guests coming that I don't think I'm allowed to mention yet.
That's fine. People would just have to come and find out.
Exactly. We've got loads of free activities and competitions as well, and miniature exhibition, learn to plays. So there should be something there for everyone. And of course, loads of stall holders that sell their art and quirky, fun things.
Yeah, there was some really cool stalls there last year. Yeah. And the library bus will be there. Milani and I are bringing the bus. We're going to do wand making, some badge making, and we're going to fill the bus with manga and comics, fantasy, sci-fi, all Sandbox related genres. So yeah, we're both really excited and have not picked our costumes yet, but we will have costumes. So yeah,
we're very excited about your involvement.
Cool.
So that's one of the highlights I'm looking forward to.
I was just going to ask you what were the highlights last year for you of the first one?
I think it wasn't like one thing in special, in particular. It was more that people actually, they came because we didn't quite know if this format would even
busy.
work.
Yeah, like I remember going and thinking, oh my gosh, it's so cool that there's so many people here like that are excited about it.
Yeah, we ourselves were impressed as well, because we just didn't know
what was gonna.
And I think one of my highlights was that people came and they had fun and they spent a long time. Like some spent the whole day there, going from activity to activity, talking to all the stall holders. we have plenty of stallholders that come up from Auckland, some even from
yeah.
Welling.
Wow, that's amazing.
But
Dedication.
We also have, yeah, I know, it's so cool. But we also have quite a few local ones, of course, because that's one of our focus points as well, to showcase local art and local creators, of course. And we have a lot of youth involved, and we have quite a few youth stallholders as well.
I noticed that last year too as well. It's like that's so nice, like a way for them to participate in their community. It's such a cool thing to see. Awesome.
Yeah, so I think those were my my highlights last year, and that is what I'm looking forward to most this year as well. We have, so the miniature exhibition will join us. That's usually an Anzac weekend thing. Yeah. But they decided this year that they'll display their exhibition within the Sandbox Fandom Festival. So I'm very happy about that. We've got more activities than last year, just because we realized it's such a cool and interesting thing for people, and they like just spending time
and
in
the
that
interest
community.
Is there as well, I guess.
Exactly. So yes, we've got fairy house making, we've got our game dungeons, and we've got a whole fairy forest.
Cool.
We've got, of course, our amazing stage program. We've got the library bus with the wand making and I think badge making.
Yeah, we're going to bring some badge making. Yeah, we usually do that at Plunge, so we thought we'd bring that to Sandbox this year.
Yeah, that will be so cool.
Yeah.
And then we also have a games and chill area where people can just play retro games, take part in a retro game competition actually if they want to. Yeah. And then we have dance battles because this year we'll have the Bat Rave Cave.
I saw that. I got a little sneaky peek of the map and I was like, what is the Bat Rave Cave?
So the Bat Rave Cave will host dance battles throughout the day. To nerdy themes like Disney music or games music or anime intros. And people can just come and dance and win little prizes. And we've got this amazing LED dance floor. So we'll turn it into a proper cave.
Awesome.
Yeah. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to most. Stage program as well. We've got, so it's not published yet, but we do have a few panels, authors panels and actor panels. We do have, I think, a few demonstrations, like sword fighting demonstrations and we'll have cosplay panels. We, of course, will have the cosplay competition on stage.
Yes, I saw that last year.
Finisher move competition where people can bust out their finishing moves. And a few other things. Yeah.
Awesome. We often bust library myths on the shelf, and so we were wondering, do you have any myths you would like to bust around nerd culture? Because I know that there's a lot out there.
Absolutely. So for starters, there are nerds of all ages and genders.
Yes.
And I just want to put that out first. So I'm 36 now. I'm mostly female. Mostly. And I started with 13 to kind of get into all sorts of nerdy things. Got heavily involved in Dungeons and Dragons. Game mastered my whole way through school and university. And then actually studied cultural anthropology and social sciences and wrote my bachelor and master thesis on like gender and role play and how it's displayed and acted out, and then my master thesis on how the role-playing scene in Germany and the nerd scene kind of grew from the 90s when it first kind of started getting popular, 80s actually, to now.
Yeah.
And in that, while I was doing that, I met so many different types of people and so many different types of nerds, all ages. We do tend in the nerd scene, pop culture scene, we do tend to have the more introverted people, and I think have a higher percentage of neurodivergence and queer.
I would agree with that.
Yes. But it's definitely not just teenage boys, for sure.
Yeah.
Some of the most talented and the most passionate and the really most interesting people that I've met are nerds, either quietly or openly.
Yeah.
And they come in all sizes and genders. And as you know, our society is what it is. Their contributions are often overlooked.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely. There's so
that
much.
ties
in there.
back into Sandbox is a great way to showcase all of that, like you were saying earlier, with all the stallholders and that. They're all really different.
Yeah.
So that's so cool.
And during my studies, just want to mention that as well. There is a whole bunch of game studies out there, like academia is looking at that, especially in Denmark. Like they have game studies as a thing you can study, not just making games, but how games work for people and with people, and how we all need playfulness in our life and what it does for us. And there's so much about how it helps you build community, how it helps you develop skills, a lot of storytelling skills. For example, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of how do you work in a team, and just a way of connecting authentically with others. So, because I'm hugely into gaming and creating communities around games and for gamers, this is a really important part to realize that actually it's not just about, I don't know, playing in your parents' basement with your other teenage friends. This is actually has a huge impact on well-being and on skill building and on community building.
That's a really cool perspective. Yeah. I've heard you mention something called the Black Library. Can you explain what it is and what do you do for them?
Yes, so the Black Library is basically the novel section of the Warhammer franchise.
Okay, I have kind of seen it in the library, but it's nothing that I've ever really touched. So I'm interested to hear.
So the company called Games Workshop, they publish Warhammer.
Yes.
And Warhammer, there's Warhammer 40k, there's Warhammer Fantasy, there's Warhammer Adventures, Age of Sigmar. There are all these different parts of Warhammer and these slightly different universes. It's all the same universe. Anyway, this is too nerdy. Not the point.
No such thing.
And it started as a miniature game. So you have all these miniatures who kind of stage fights against each other.
People sometimes use our 3D printing here at the library to print their miniatures.
I figured that. And they started bringing out books as well, publishing books as well, under the name of the Black Library. The Black Library is a concept within the game,
right? Okay.
As in, it's where all the dangerous and dark books are, and the hidden and forbidden knowledge. But we have it here as a series of books that all play in the Warhammer universe. And there's so many books by now. And for 6 years, roughly, I worked as a translator and editor for them.
Cool.
And on a freelance basis, so I still get the very occasional edit. But that was a really interesting time.
Yeah. So translating to German?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
English to German, and then because I can read the books as well.
Yeah,
while I work on them. I can keep in
Sneak
touch
peek.
with my language.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm also a really detail-oriented person, so I loved just picking apart language. So that's the Black Library and my involvement.
I have learned something. So I've always been like, I knew it was a game, and I was like, how did they make books out of this? Now I have a little bit of insight.
There are a lot of rule books for the game, but that's a different type. Black Library are all the novels.
The novels, Cool. Speaking of books, we obviously love book recommendations on the shelf. Anything aside from the Warhammer Black Library novels now that you think that people should be looking at, checking out, whether that's any of the nerdy genres?
Yes, I indeed have a few. First, I would like to... So my last read was actually the Follow Creek series from Claudia Kane. Starts with Lovely, Dark and Deep. And it's a dark fantasy series with slight horror elements about a young witch growing up in our modern world and kind of dealing with all the creepy things that happen in Fellow Creek. And then, if you're more into cozy fantasy, I would absolutely recommend Legends and Letters.
Me too. I second that. That was great. I read that last year. And the few staff members have read that now, actually. Those of us that are into fantasy, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. So that one is by Travis Baldry. I think that's how you pronounce it. I believe so.
And there's a second one now, Bones and Book Dust, which Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I still haven't read. It was delivered to my Kindle, and then I forgot about it. So cozy fantasy, absolutely enjoyable read. And then everything from Gail Carriger would start with the Soulless series. That's a kind of Victorian age fantasy series with an absolutely amazing concept behind it. Skaldagrud Pleasant from Derek Landy, which is a classic, I think, for a young adult nowadays. But I just enjoyed it so much. My roller derby name actually derived from it.
Oh my god! I don't understand how you find the time to do all of these things.
I don't play roller derby anymore.
No,
too many injuries.
My auntie retired for the same reason.
And then if you want a light, fun read to get you a bit into, the nerd culture, I would absolutely recommend Dungeons and Drama by Christy Boyce.
Okay.
That's a young adult romance story, and it's just really cute. And if you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is and why it is so exciting to a lot of people, then I would recommend that one. This one I haven't read, but I'm really, really looking forward to it, which is Never Whistle at Night.
Oh, that's on my list too.
It's an Indigenous dark fiction anthology, and
really
I've heard so many amazing things about
Me
it.
too.
So, definitely that one. And then tell me how it played out for you, what you thought about it. And then when it comes to comics, I'm just such a huge fan of CrossGen. It's a company that doesn't exist anymore, but they made some of the most amazing comics that I've ever read, like Ruse and Meridian, and so would definitely recommend checking them out. And then one of my all-time favorites is Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck comics. So those would be my recommendations.
Thank you so much. That'll keep people busy. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to mention that we haven't covered this morning?
I feel like we've covered
A lot.
So that's awesome. I'm just so absolutely excited to have the library part of Sandbox.
Yeah,
I have
tell
to
you,
say.
we are extremely excited. Like I said, I went last year just as a spectator. Last year it fell on my birthday weekend, so it was like perfect excuse. Me and a couple of friends went, and it was so fun. So yeah, when Glenn said, "Does anyone want to do Sandbox this year?" I was like, me. We are super excited, and to see how big it's going to be this year is even more exciting. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the work that you do in our community.
Yeah, well, thank you, and also thank you for displaying our coloring competition and flyers. So quick pitch if you still want to take part in the coloring competition to potentially win some tickets for Sandbox. Come down to the library.
The Central Library.
Exactly, Central Library. This display will be up until Sandbox. So
cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
No
for
worries,
having me.
and hope to see everybody there.
Yes.
Thank you to Verena from Sandbox Fandom Festival for sitting down with me. Lots of great stuff in the interview. So if you want to come along to Sandbox Fandom Fest, it is on Saturday, 27th of July, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. at Forum North, and you can still buy tickets on the Event Finder website. If you just punch Sandbox Fandom Festival into Google, it should come up.
Yeah, she makes some wonderful points in that interview. Nerd culture nowadays is so much more accepting than I remember when I was young. This younger generation, Generation Z, they're
big fans.
they're big fans, and they're a very accepting generation.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We are bringing it back. It's a fan favorite on the show.
Call me Ishmael. Guess what book we're reading? Guess what book we're roasting? We are going to roast Moby Dick. Moby Dick was published in 1851, written by Herman Melville, and this book was not as popular as one would think when it was first released. After all, it's about whales and whaling, and not everybody understands whaling.
Yeah.
But let me explain the segment. In this segment, we talk about the beloved classics of literature by reading one-star reviews from Goodreads and Amazon. I'll just read a summary of the book from a one-star review. The well-known classic story of a maniac with a wooden leg who chases a whale across the seas named Moby Dick to take revenge on him for biting off his leg. And that is a very good outline of this 900-page epic. Of course, I read it when I was at uni twice. And the book contains very complicated subtext. It is advanced reading for sure, but I can't get into all of it, or we'll be here all night, all year. But although I do not deny its literary merits, it is a long, frustrating, but fascinating book.
All right, let's get started.
All right.
How can a book that's almost entirely set in the ocean be this dry? Little sad face emoji.
One word. Boring.
I do not understand why this book is considered an American classic, unless it was so designated by an enemy of the USA who wants to make us look foolish.
When my kids get older, I may make my children read this book as punishment if they do something really bad. I'm not talking about missing curfew either. This book would be appropriate punishment for, I don't know, murder. Yep, if my kids ever kill someone, they'll be forced to read Moby Dick.
I think Moby Dick was my great white whale. Literally, it haunted me for years.
This book is truly hideous. This book needs a warning, not to be read by any old softies that believe animals have feelings.
I have conquered the beast.
Look, man, whale hunting isn't a noble profession.
We're breaking from tradition here, Andy. This is from a 5-star review. James Cameron totally ripped off and plagiarized Melville in the abysmally written Avatar 2.
I mean, he might have taken inspiration. Okay, here is our epic 1-star review. Melville strikes me as one of those people who would corner you at a party and talk incessantly about whaling, whaling ships, whales, whale diets, whale etymology, whale zoology, whale blubber, whale delicacies, whale migration, whale oil, whale biology, whale ecology, whale meat, whale skinning, and every other possible topic about whales, so that you'd finally have to pretend to go to the bathroom just to get away from the crazy old man. Only he'd follow you into the bathroom and keep talking to you about whales while peering over the side of the stall and trying to make eye contact with you the whole time.
That's my favorite one.
I think that could be a book.
It almost makes me want to read the book. I haven't read it, but those were so funny that I almost want to read it to form my own opinion.
I think give it a go. Just understand the book is a wonderful classic. It's just complicated, but it explains everything about whaling, so you don't have to look anything up.
Fabulous.
Although there is a long chapter insisting that a whale is a fish. So
Okay. Grain of salt.
Some unreliable narration.
Yeah.
It is told from one guy's point of view.
Okay.
Shall we do a quiz?
Yeah, I'm ready to redeem myself, maybe.
Okay.
From last time. Do you want me to quiz you first, or do you want to quiz me first?
You can quiz me.
All right. I decided to keep with a theme, seeing as we're Sandbox Fandom Festival and everything nerdy. So Terry Pratchett in the Discworld is the theme of this quiz. So, which of the following, and play along at home if you like, which of the following was Terry Pratchett's first novel? A. Truckers, B. The Colour of Magic, C. The Carpet People, or D. The Dark Side of the Sun?
That's his first novel.
Ever.
Oh.
Yeah. Not just in the series.
Oh, The Carpet People?
Yeah.
Oh! Nice.
Well done. 2. The librarian from the Discworld novels is transformed into what type of creature in the novel The Light Fantastic?
An orangutan.
I didn't even give you the options that time. You're correct. Choose the 2. 3. What is the occupation of recurring side character Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler from the Discworld novels?
Oh.
A. Wizard.
Yeah.
B. Assassin. C. Inventor. Or D. Merchant.
Merchant.
That is correct. If he gave it to you any lower, he'd be cutting his own throat, I think is his catchphrase.
Oh, yeah.
And bonus half a point if you can tell me what he typically sells.
Oh. Fairy dust.
No, he is most famous for selling meat byproducts to unsuspecting souls.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. 4. The Discworld character Granny Weatherwax first appears in which novel? A. Equal Rights. B. Witches Abroad. C. Weird Sisters. Or D. Lords and Ladies.
Equal Rights.
Yes, you're right. And bonus question, what name does Death call his horse in the Discworld series? We got A. Blinky, B. Pinky, C. Binky, or D. Fluffy?
Binky?
Yes, that's right.
Oh!
You just got a 5 for 5 after saying, yes. I've only read a few of the Discworld novels.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Ready?
Yes.
Oh, and remember, folks, if you are listening in public, just shout out the answers.
Yeah.
especially if you are wearing headphones.
Absolutely. Oh no. Okay. I wish I'd gone first now.
What did the very hungry caterpillar eat on Monday? That's day 1.
Oh.
Was it an apple, a pear, a plum, or a strawberry?
An apple?
Very good.
My heart's racing.
Pony Boy, Soda Pop, Dairy, and 2-Bit are characters in which teen novel?
Oh.
Perks of Being a Wallflower,
No.
The Fault in Our Stars,
No.
The Outsiders.
Yes. The Outsiders.
And it is The Outsiders.
Love that book. Love that movie.
So I'm not spoiling this book too much. It happens at the beginning.
Okay.
In Crime and Punishment, who does the protagonist kill? A landlord, an accountant, a banker, or a pawnbroker?
A pawnbroker?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yep, very good.
I did start that book once. I don't know if I finished it. Okay.
It's another long, epic, complicated book.
Yes.
And
we will have to
it's
roast
great.
it in future.
I think we should. Yeah. It's a good one. For Whom the Bell Tolls is set during which war? The Russian Revolution, the Spanish Civil War, World War I, or the Irish Rebellion?
Who wrote that?
Ernest Hemingway.
That didn't help me.
Do you want me to read them again?
Yes, please.
The Russian Revolution, the Spanish Civil War, World War I, or the Irish Rebellion?
Spanish Revolution?
Civil War, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was thinking 2 answers at once. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the one.
Okay. Yes.
Great book. Bonus question. For Whom the Bell Tolls is also a song by which heavy metal band? Iron Maiden, Slayer, Megadeth, or Metallica?
Is it Metallica?
It sure is.
Yes! Oh my god!
There it is. Yeah.
Way better than last time, so I did redeem myself.
You did, yeah.
And hopefully listeners out there also redeemed themselves.
Yeah, and
or continued their winning streak, depending.
And I hope we are enjoying the sound effects. I forgot to play the sound effect for Roasting the Classics.
Oh, no.
Can I play it now?
Yeah, go for it.
That's it.
Amazing.
I'm sure everybody's heard that.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Let's talk about events.
Yeah. Did you want to share? You helped out with some of the holiday programs.
Yes, that's right. I helped out with the school holiday program last Wednesday. We had more than 70 people in the children's area of Central Library. These kids created really cool drawings of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing stuff.
And the kids were such great sports. Awesome. Really cool kids.
Yeah, so there's still one more day of the holiday program. I think Native Birds is the theme this week. So it starts at 10 tomorrow, and one more day of the Teen Breakfast Club as well for your teens. So also starting at 10 tomorrow. What else have we got coming up? We've got a heritage talk on the 31st of July, Defence of Northland in World War II. It's in the CAFLA suite at Forum North. And if you've missed any of our heritage talks, you can catch up on them on the Whangarei Libraries YouTube channel while you're catching up on any episodes of The Shelf that you've missed, which you can also find on our YouTube channel. And then in August, there's going to be a week called the Dying Matters Week, and there's going to be quite a number of events organised, so about planning for your funeral, legal matters, there's a whole list on our website, but everything death, but in a positive way.
Okay, and remember, we're on YouTube. like, comment, subscribe. You may email us. If you want to get in contact with the station manager at 116 for Beagle Radio, please email info@beagleradio.co.nz. And like we said, someone emailed us earlier, and it started a conversation. It's great. I'm very proud of us.
Yeah, we're so happy to. Yeah, if you want to email, you can email us at. If you want to email the shelf, that is, you can email us at whglibrary@wdc.govt.nz, or comment on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, and we have a song that is themed after another lesser-known literary genre in the spirit of Moby Dick.
Yes.
And the song is called The Greenland Whale Fisheries by the Pogues. Check it out.
Ka kite.